Bryan Nupp. Be sure to check out our yoga playlist for past classes and subscribe to our channel, Library CCPL. Enjoy class.
Arium. Thank you, Buff. Appreciate you. And thank you to the library for giving us this platform to continue our deep relaxation classes. So I've been going through some old notes, and I came across a course I took 4 years ago by John Kabat-Zinn and the Palouse Mindfulness Society. And the course, some of you may have heard of it, it's free and it's online. It's called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. And it's a course that they provide materials and readings and practices for. Each week builds upon the last week. And I'm going to skip ahead to week 4 and pull something that was just really calling to me today. And it's a motif I'm sure that you've heard before. In this particular part of the mindfulness-based stress reduction practice in the curriculum, they highlight the importance of responding versus reacting and the role that stress plays in that. Now, we're probably all aware enough to know that stress isn't good for us, not in a physical way or emotional way. And so one of the practices that they offer is this practice called stop. And so we may or may not be aware that when we are actually moving, all right, and the time it takes for me to move, it seems like it's almost instantaneous. I have this intention of movement and I move. But actually, neuroscientists, they have shown that the part of our brains that is responsible for movement actually activates a quarter of a second before we are aware of the intention of movement. Now just think about that for a second. So in this time where I've made an intention to move, my brain was already on it before I could get started. I was aware I even wanted to move. It's pretty miraculous. Similarly, there's this magic quarter second when it comes to emotional reactivity. And so in that time where we're starting to feel an emotion arise, and it feels almost instantaneous, there's actually this magic quarter second where we can become aware of this emotion as it arises. And in that just quarter second, we might plant the seed, and this is going to happen over time with practice. It's not going to be like all of a sudden you've gained this quarter second and now you can, reconstruct your life. It takes practice. But in this little bit of time that I become aware of an emotion, I'll use anger as an example. In that time where I'm feeling myself becoming angry, there's just this fraction of a second where I can take a moment and practice this analogy of stop, this acronym STOP. Stop represents a 1-minute breathing space. And so in that moment where I feel anger rising, I can stop and take stop. So the S in stop literally means to stop. So you can bring yourself into the present moment by deliberately asking, what's my experience right now? What are my thoughts? What are my feelings? What are my sensations? And if it's a really intense feeling of stress or anger, I might feel my blood pressure rising. I might feel clammy. I might feel my teeth grinding. I might feel my heart starting to palpitate and my breathing become more labored. And so it's really important that we take the time to stop and check in. And as soon as I've taken the opportunity to stop and check in, okay, I'm noticing that I'm becoming angry or frustrated at whatever it is. I'm noticing the physiological responses. I'm noticing the mental responses. And so now I've brought awareness in to help diffuse this experience of anger. Instead of making it so personal and such a mindless reaction, I'm now mindfully experiencing my anger. And that can wildly change the the moments that follow. It could take a really volatile situation and diffuse it and make it an opportunity to learn and communicate and grow. So the S in the acronym STOP stands for stop, check in. The T in STOP stands for take a breath or take a moment. You need to take a few breaths. And now I'm directing my awareness, instead of the emotional reaction or even the emotion itself, my awareness shifts into the breath. So I might notice that I was holding the breath in the anticipation of that angry reaction. With my awareness on my feelings, now my awareness being directed more subtly into my breath, now I'm back and I'm holding the reins on my mind again. I'm not following this mindless chain of reactions. So the practice in its notes, it continues to elaborate by gently directing our full attention to breathing, to every in-breath and every out-breath. Our breath functions as an anchor to keep us grounded in this moment and to bring us into the present, helping us tune into a state of awareness and stillness so we can make an appropriate response. The O in STOP stands for open and observe, expanding our awareness outward. What is it that caused us to be angry? Why did I start to have this reaction in the first place? Is it a learned reaction? Have I been training myself to react to this way every time? And so we begin to expand our field of awareness beyond even our breathing. This includes a sense of well-being as a whole, our posture, the thought trains that accompanied the reaction, and it goes on and on. So we're simply opening and observing. And the P stands for proceed with new possibilities. So if I've gotten angry about the same thing 1,000 times, I'll use a trivial example, like a football game or a game. We get so invested in the outcome of these games. You could use any other thing that maybe works better for you. But if every time I'm watching this game and every time they don't get a first down or there's a bad play or a bad call, if I'm getting angry, then I've just trained myself to repeat this reaction again and again. But maybe the next time I watch the game, I practice this stop tool in my toolbox. And instead of just falling into that same line of reactions, I can stop, take a breath, open and observe, realize I'm watching a game. And then I can proceed to just let this actually be entertainment and not this emotional investment that's going to cause me to react in such a poor way. And so, of course, this is really idealistic. It's better that you practice this when you're not really stressed, like when you're waiting in line, or maybe even when you're at the library and you're browsing for books. You can just take a moment and stop. Take a breath, observe what you're feeling, and then proceed. And so occasionally in class tonight, I'll remind us again of this acronym and encourage you to stop, take a breath, observe what you're feeling, whether that's comfortable or uncomfortable, and then proceed into your pose, into your stretch, into your meditation with new possibilities. Again, this is from the mindfulness-based stress reduction. I'll hold this up so hopefully you can see. It's by John Kabat-Zinn in the Palouse Mindfulness Society. So we're going to move right into our practice here. I'm going to transition from a seated position. I'm just going to move my props to the side for now, keeping some blocks close by. And I'm going to come up onto my knees here. If you need to, if your knees are sensitive, you can take a blanket or cushion and place that underneath of the knees. Let me show you from the side. So I'm going to start. And if you do have a block, you might even like to keep a block between your legs. And this adduction, this squeezing in towards the midline, is going to help keep your core engaged, which in turn is going to take a little pressure out of your back. Okay? So core is engaged. And I'm just going to just lift the shoulders up. Inhale. And then exhale, drop the shoulders down. Exhale. Now, if you can, see if you can reach behind and grab a hold of the hands and clasp the palms together. And I'm going to inhale, just gently shrug the shoulders up. This time as I exhale, I'm going to press the knuckles back and down, opening up the heart, keeping the chest lifted, and keeping the hips pressing forward. I want to encourage you to stop here, take a few breaths, and observe. Observe whatever you're feeling in your body. Observe your thoughts. Observe your breath. With your next inhalation, release that clasp of the hands and bring the hands up and overhead. Take a little back bend here. And then as you exhale, slowly come down into child's pose, removing that block. Your toes can be tucked, or you can untuck the toes for your child's pose. Good. Continue to observe your breath. Now just go ahead and walk your fingers forward a couple of inches. Press down through the palms. Feel that connection between the hands and the floor as you shift your body weight forward into tabletop pose. So I've got my hands right underneath the front of the shoulders here. Crown of the head reaching forward. And I'm just going to take a look over left shoulder, stretching the neck and side body. And then a look over right shoulder. And again over left. Back over right. Stay tuned into your breath here, practicing with full awareness, body and mind. Good. Come back to that neutral tabletop position. Now lengthen through the neck and reach the crown of the head forward. Simultaneously lift the chest and tilt the tailbone away. Taking a deep breath in for cow pose. And then exhaling for cat pose. Chin tucks in, spine round, pressing the floor away through the hands here. And reverse and repeat the sequence. Cat and cow. Inhaling back through cow. Exhaling. Inhale. And exhale. 4 more rounds of breath. Always modify or add in additional movement as needed. This is your practice after all. Last breath here, wrapping up that cat-cow sequence. Good. Now, if it's comfortable for you, you can come down onto your forearms here. If you have blocks, you might like to support forearms with blocks, right? Now I'm simply going to stretch my left leg out behind, and I'm going to really press through the ball mound of the foot and try and stay in frame here. All right, I'm going to get this nice stretch through the calf. And I'm going to drop that left knee back down and then lift the right knee. Press again through the ball mound of that foot, really pressing the heel down. We'll do this again. Left, right. Come on back up to your hands and knees in that tabletop position for our final part of this warm-up sequence. So I'm going to stretch that left leg out behind again. And this time I'm going to begin to curl the left heel in towards left glute. And as I do this, I'm going to inhale back into that owl shape, lifting the heart. And then as I exhale, I'm going to bring that left knee into the center of the chest. Inhale, fully extend, and then curl that left heel back in, lifting the chest. Exhale, knee stays bent this time. Knee to chest or chin. Try and keep the shoulders level, hips level as you move. Sequence. One more time. Good. Now again, take a moment and stop. Take a breath. Observe. Observe your breath. Observe the sensations in your body. Observe any thoughts that might be passing through. And when you're ready, proceed to the other side. We'll do 7 on this side. When you're ready, inhale, extend that right leg, curl the heel in, lift the chest. Exhale, keep the knee bent. Draw knee to chin, knee to chest. Again, inhale, lengthen, extend first, then reset. Good. One more time. Go ahead and come back down onto the forearms. Go ahead and shift the chest forward, coming into this forearm plank with the knees down. Gonna remove this blanket. If you do have a blanket under your knees, you might just want to slide that out to the side. We're going to practice a few rounds of Sphinx roll-ups so that we can continue to engage our cores. So we're in this forearm plank. Observe your breath. Observe the temperature of your body. Observing thoughts that might pass through. So as I inhale, I'm going to lower my thighs, my hips, and my belly down, and I'm going to lift the chest. And as I exhale, chin's going to tuck in, lower belly's going to suck up and in. I'm going to lift the hips and thighs and hold here. Then very slowly, mindfully, only moving as fast as your breath. And if your breath is quick, see if you can slow it down. Inhale. Exhale. Really using the muscles in the core to draw that lower belly up and in. Hips lift, thighs lift. Good. Elbows right under the front of shoulders. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, continue. One more. Press the floor away with the forearms and lift. Simultaneously try and pull the elbows back towards you, back towards the knees. That's going to accentuate that engagement in the last one. Now let's Sphinx pose. Exhaling, chin tucks in. Lower belly lifts, elbows pull back, hips and thighs lift. And slowly lower down. Good. We're going to go ahead and lower the arms down by the side. I'm going to bring my right cheek to the floor. I'm going to take a little rest here in Advasana. Take this opportunity to stop, breathe, observe. When you're ready to proceed, just bring the opposite cheek to the floor as to even out that stretch in the neck. Ready, bring your head back to center. You can keep your chin or forehead on the floor. Now begin to lengthen the spine by walking the feet out behind you. See if you can just find that extra half inch of length in the spine as you lift and lower the feet. We're going to make our way into half locust pose, which is stabilizing and strengthening for the glutes and lower back. We're going to start with one side at a time. We'll start with the left side first. Take a deep breath in. When you're ready, exhale, lift that left leg up behind. Keep both hips pressed down. Lift that knee and thigh off the mat. If you want to adopt a traditional hand position, you could rock the hips side to side and bring the hands, forearms, and elbows underneath the torso. This will give the additional benefit of a stimulating massage for the digestive organs. Left leg is lifted. We're going to hold here. Every exhale, lower that left leg down and switch. Lengthen the right leg out behind again. And as you inhale, lift the right leg up. Ready, slowly lower that right leg down. You can gently untuck the hands, bring the arms out wide to the side. Go ahead and bring your right cheek back to the The next part in our back bend series is going to be Cobra Pose. So go ahead and bring the hands back in. Bring the hands right underneath of the front of the shoulders so that your fingertips are in line with your chest. And keep the elbows in close to the side body. If you are experiencing any kind of pinching or tightness in the lower back, you can always just widen the knees a little bit here. And then scoop the lower belly up and in, just like we did in that Sphinx roll-up. That's going to help alleviate some pressure in the back as well. So I'm going to inhale and lengthen through the crown of the head, lift head, neck, and chest, and draw the shoulder blades together. The focal point of this back bend is right in between the scapula. Focus on that space right between the shoulder blades, elbows in close to the side body. You could even very gently lift your fingertips and palms and hold here in Cobra. Exhalation, slowly lower the chest, tuck the chin in, relax the forehead down. Tuck the toes under. We're going to press up into downward facing dog. Come up through plank and slowly back to down dog. Shake out the head and neck. Remember to press down evenly through each set of fingers and palms, and then hug the elbows in towards the midline. You can bend one knee then the other, taking the dog for a walk. And while you're here in down dog, once you've settled in, again, practice, stop, breath, or two, or three, or as many as you open and observe. You're ready, slowly go ahead and walk the feet up in between the hands and come into a standing forward fold shape. Feet are about hip distance apart, soft bend in the knees, let the whole upper body just hang, shimmy up the shoulders, gently shake the head, yes and no. And again, if you have your yoga blocks, you might find that even a little support here and help you relax more into this forward fold. Inhale slowly all the way up to standing. Hands rise last. Exhale, lower the hands down. Good. Shake out the hands, shake out the shoulders. Give them a really thorough shake. Okay. We're going to practice just a couple more forward folds and full body stretching with some sun breathing, which is a really beautiful and beneficial moving meditation practice. So I'm going to start with my hands right here in front of the chest and what's called Anjali Mudra, the mudra of the heart, this position of prayer. As you exhale, observe that feeling between the hands and your heart. When you're ready, inhale and stretch the hands far overhead. Eye gaze turns up, hips press forward, heart opens here. And exhale, chin tucks in, hands sweep towards the floor or swan dive down. Inhale up halfway, back is flat and parallel to the floor, crown of the head reaching forward. And exhale, forward fold. Remember, we're hinging from the hips and not rounding through the spine. All right, let me show you from the side here. All right, so when I come back up to that halfway lift, let's all come up halfway together. Hands to shins or thighs. Trying to find that position where my back is parallel to the floor. And as I fold forward, I'm hinging from the hips here. All right, and trying to keep my back flat. Inhale all the way back to standing. Hands reach up and overhead. Exhale, hands touch in front of the heart. Find a flow with your breath. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway, reset. Exhale, release. And return to standing. Exhale, and rest in front of the chest. Again. Exhale. Inhale up half. Begin, return to standing, hands reaching up towards the heavens. And then exhale, palms touch, hands rest in the chest. For our standing sequence, we'll simply move through a warrior one with a hamstring stretch. So I'm going to start by stepping my right foot forward, my left foot back. Right? I'm going to try and keep this right knee directly over top of the right ankle. Hips square to face forward. I'm going to just gently draw the hips forward and down, scooping that lower belly up. You can stay right here for your warrior one. Bring the hands back into Anjali Mudra, or you could bring the hands up and overhead, or feel free to creatively express your warrior as it feels appropriate for you. Feel down into the feet. Feel that connection between your feet and your mat. Your find stability in the core. Find stability with your breath. Ready? Exhale and straighten that front leg. Now, just like in our sun breathing and those forward folds, we're going to hinge forward from the hips. Now, if you don't have yoga blocks, you might like to have a wall or a chair or something that you can use to support yourself, or simply keep your hands on your hips and slowly fold forward. Now, it's important to keep just a micro bend in this front leg so we're not hyperextending, just a very slight bend. If you do have blocks, as you hinge forward, your hands will comfortably find these blocks. As you feel comfortable, you might lower the hands slowly in the direction of the floor, never forcing or rushing these deep stretches. Press that front foot down. And imagine you're trying to pull that front foot back, drawing that right hip and glute back towards the wall behind. If coming into this static stretch is too intense, you can always inhale, bend the front leg, maybe even come up onto the fingertips, and then exhale, straighten the front leg, folding forward. Maybe this dynamic movement will suit your needs better. Three more rounds of breathing in your hamstrings. When you're ready, return to warrior one. Bring a bend in that front leg again. And then simply step the back foot forward and stop a moment. Observe that difference between right and left. And then we'll go ahead and we'll switch. So I'm going to have my left foot out front, right foot back. If you're utilizing blocks, use those to frame that front foot now. My feet are hip distance apart. I'm firmly planted onto the heel of that back foot with my foot at a 45-degree angle, front knee over ankle. We want to make sure that this front knee does not collapse inward. We want to keep it actually favoring that outside edge of the foot. Core engaged, heart open, adopt whatever hand position expresses your warrior one. Stay connected with your breath. Your next exhalation, start to straighten the front leg, hands to hips. I like to keep my fingers right at the hip crease so that I know I'm hinging from my hips. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to drop my fingers down to my support, whether that's a chair, a wall, something sturdy, or the blocks. Again, same action here. I'm going to press this front foot down and try and pull the foot back. In turn, taking this left glute and pushing it back. You have the option, as before, to stay here in this deep static stretch. If you need some dynamic movement instead, you can inhale, bend the front leg, and exhale, straight. Maybe you can come up halfway, reset, and then straight. Three more breaths here. That third and final breath, slowly transitioning back to Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. Bring a bend in the front leg, the knee stacks over ankle, hips level, core engaged, heart open. When you're ready, lower the hands, the rest in front of the chest. If you're not already there, back foot steps forward. Release the hands down by the side and stop the breath. Observe, open. Good. And we'll proceed. Go ahead and shake it out. All right, good. We'll get on top. All right, so for our balancing pose tonight, we'll come into tree pose. A few different variations of tree you might practice. All right. I'm going to start by just simply lifting my right knee up, right, and then lowering this right foot down. Just work on a little balance here. I'm going to do this a few times. Before I move into tree pose, I'll switch, plant it on the right foot. I'm just going to lift and lower this left knee a few times. Each side might be a little different. Good. So again, we have a few different variations for our tree pose. If you have a block or something, you could bring that block between the feet. And I'm actually going to start by balancing on my left side first. With a block, you could kickstand your right toes on the block and then bring heel to calf or shin, right? This would be one of the more grounded variations of tree. So if you've been very, very flighty or just feeling ungrounded, staying right here for your balance pose would be perfect. If you've been feeling a little more lethargic, or maybe you could just kind of just use an emotional or energetic boost, you could maybe try lifting the foot below the knee joint to balance on the calf. Your hands can rest in whatever position feels right for you. In line with that emotional and energetic boost, you could bring the foot above the knee joint to rest here. Gonna need the wall to help me for that one. So not forcing anything, I'm going to come back to the level of tree that feels appropriate for me. If you wish, you could extend the hands up and overhead, go out to the side. A great chance to practice that acronym STOP. And when you're ready, lift the right knee and lower the right foot down. Good. So we'll switch to the other side now. I'm going to transfer my body weight over to the right. And again, you can maybe even try one of each of those variations and just see which one aligns with how you're feeling or what it feels like you need. So that's this very grounded version of tree or something a little more energized. Maybe you needed one thing on one side and something just a little different on the other side. You're ready. Lift that left knee, lower the left foot down. Very good. We're going to come back down to a seated position on our mats now, with the legs extended out in front. If you notice that your hamstrings have been really tight throughout our practice, you can always bring a little something to support them by bringing something underneath the knees. A rolled up blanket, if you have your blocks, something to kind of help support that natural bend in the legs. So then I want you to kind of pick up the sitting bones and just redistribute your glutes side to side. All right. And we're going to move through this simple practice to help realign the SI joint. That's this joint in the lower back. Most of us that experience back pain can be attributed to one of a few things, one of which being SI joint misalignment. So to help kind of realign this SI joint, I'm simply going to pick up my right glute and shift it back. And then pick up my left glute and shift it back. And I'm just going to continue shifting side to side, just like that. And it's not a race. I'm not racing through this. It's very slow back, very slow other side back. Keep your core engaged and try and sit up as tall as you comfortably can as you just use the hips, shifting side to side, realign. Good. And then come back to center. Make any final adjustments you need to. We're going to transition into a forward fold, and we're going to come into a dynamic version of our forward fold instead of a static. So instead of just folding forward and holding here, we're going to transition very slowly into that. You can do this with or without the movement of the hands. As you inhale, you can bring the hands up and overhead. And exhale, just like we've been practicing, I'm hinging from the hips, not rounding in the spine. And I'll accentuate that one more time. So that hinge from the hips and not a collapse and a rounding in the spine. This is where we find a lot of potential for risk of injury. We're going to keep our core engaged, try and keep our back as straight as we can. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling, reach up to the fingertips, reach up to the crown of the head, and exhale. If you're not using the hands, the shoulders are tired, or whatever the reason might be, you can keep your hands right underneath the bend in the knees. Four more rounds of breath. After that fourth breath, we'll hold in our forward fold for 5 more breaths. Focus on one breath at a time. On your way into your expression of that forward fold, grabbing a hold of the knees or shins and calves of the feet, and trying to keep the back engaged and straight. And connect with your breath. When you're ready, inhale, slowly come back up to that tall seat. Move your props, set them off to the side. And go ahead and come onto your back and hug the knees in toward the chest. Again, stop. Take a moment. How are you feeling? What are your thoughts? Taking stock, how you feel and what you're thinking. Direct your awareness, your attention to your breath. Now observe this transition. Observe how, after the course of our hour together, how is this acronym, this practice, stop? How is it affecting you? How will you continue to use it beyond our on-the-mat practice? And then proceed. Go ahead and lower the feet down. Keep your feet in line with your hips and or shoulders. Arms out into a T shape. Go ahead and just very gently windshield wiper the knees side to side. Knees don't have to come all the way down to the floor, but they can if that's what feels good for you. Slowly bring the knees back to center. We'll transition to our happy pose. First, we're going to make half start with our left side. We're going to put into the chest. And grab back the leg.
Bryan, I'm sorry, your sound went a little off.
Let's try it. Let me try it. Reset here real quick. Can you hear me any better now?
Not quite yet.
Sometimes it just takes a minute to see. Right? Any better now?
No, but we can still hear you, and it's just a few more minutes, so I think we'll be all right.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, the sound from your way sounds kind of far away too. All right, we'll finish class. We only have a few minutes.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay. We're back in this half baby pushing. Can you grab hold of the outside edge of the foot? Expand in the knee. If it's too much to keep this right leg straight, keep this right foot on the floor. Try and keep both hips pointed up, right? Try and keep this right foot on the floor. Left side. Take a moment. Switch. Breath. Put that right hand toward the chest. Different options. You can just simply put on the knee on the right knee, grab the hamstring. Once you do a jump, grab the outside. Keep this leg bent. Extend. Release the right foot down. Close our practice with back. We simply let both knees in the chest. Grab hold of the outside edges of the feet again, or wrap both arms around the hamstrings. And if you want to try something a little different this time, you might try straightening the legs. Try and keep your lower back on the floor. It's natural if the tailbone lifts, but ensure that the lower back can stay connected to the floor. Slowly release the feet. Extend the legs long. Windshield wiper the feet side to side. Pick up the arms and drop them. Gently rotate the head and neck side to side. We'll transition into our Savasana. Any adjustments you need to be comfortable to rest here. I'll close our practice as the facilitator from a seated position instead. If you'd rather join me there, that's fine. If you'd like a longer Shavasana, you could simply turn off your sound now or log out and end your practice accordingly. Otherwise, we'll just take a couple of minutes to observe. Transitioning the awareness from your body resting on the floor or in a seated position. Back to the breath again. Breathe in, breathe peace. As you exhale, feel present and grounded right here in the now. All you have to do is observe, without pushing thoughts away, without entertaining them. The part we have to play is simple. It's to be aware, observe. Warmth, lightness, and groundedness. Return to your physical body. Gently move your fingers and toes. Begin to deepen your breath with a special awareness for the breath and where you feel your breath most in your body. Very slowly, unrushed, take your time and join us in a comfortable seated position where we'll close our practice for this evening. Turn to your comfortable seat. Sit tall with the shoulders back, heart lifted, crown of the head reaching up, crown stacked over root, the peak of a mountain. Om Shanti, Shanti, peace, peace. Here you go, peace. We close our practice and we greet each other with Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.